Welcome to the wild, wild west of adulting, a virtual road trip between two entrepreneurs and BFFs who are navigating the uncertainty and possibility of pursuing life off the beaten path. So today's question we have for you is, are you working for the weekends? Christina, are you working for the weekends right now? I'm
No,
trying to.
thank God I am no longer working for the weekends.
But so you did at one point.
So I wouldn't say that I worked for the weekends because two things. One is I definitely worked the weekends. Like, even though I worked for a school and you would think, oh, well, you just work Monday through Friday and then you go home. And no, it was like a 24/7, work week for me. But I also really loved what I was doing. Where I think my problem is I didn't set boundaries the way I should have. So while I think it's different than people who work for the weekend to like get away, I just feel like I just didn't have the boundaries and I wasn't creating space for me to rejuvenate. So I would feel exhausted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so today, we really want to get into how do you design a life that you don't want to escape from, and I think a lot of folks right now are really struggling with the fact that travel is not what it used to be in terms of vacations. We've had to get a little bit more creative with that. And sort of as the lines between work and home are blurring, it can be hard to carve out that space to recharge and for rest and for recovery. And so I think a lot of people right now are really having a tough time with quarantine.
Right. Well, I think like you remember that movie Groundhog's Day. So it's like pre-COVID, a lot of people's work felt like Groundhog's Day, right? Like you go in, you punch out, and you're sort of on autopilot. And so we still have a kind of Groundhog's Day happening every day. It's just in a different context, but it's still, for so many people, it's them wanting to escape from something. And that's why summer vacation is usually, if we talk about working for the weekend each week, for the year, you're working for your annual vacation that usually takes place in the summer. And so I think a lot of people not being able to travel to their usual, destination, or traveling further than they were able to, I think it has some residual effects. Like, I know your family goes every year to Martha's Vineyard. So I don't know if you want to talk about like what it was like to not have that this year.
Yeah, we do. So my sister, every year, she organizes this family vacation. I think it was big for us, like after my mom passed away, to try to have a consistent way of connecting. So it was like a mandatory, everybody takes this week off and we all spend time together, sort of smushed into small quarters, right? It's like, but I think, during the holidays, it's hard to get those moments. You're so rushing around, busy doing everything. So this time in the summer was something we always treasured. Now, I didn't do the best with it because I was always sort of taking conference calls and sort of there but not fully present. And so, I definitely had to sort of reassess and say, I remember bragging and saying, oh, I have so many vacation days saved up, I haven't used my vacation. It's like there's no reward in heaven, right, for not using your vacation days. And also, I wasn't a joy to be around, you know what I mean? And I just remember,
You don't say it, Anniedi.
I was not. I was not. I know. I sometimes say I'm a ray of sunshine. I was not a ray of sunshine. Okay, and I remember sort of hitting burnout. I remember hitting burnout, and I think it sort of crept up on me because, like you, I loved my work. It was hard to sort of differentiate. This is as an entrepreneur, even when I worked for corporations. I would throw myself into work and it was hard to sort of really reel myself in and sort of take a step back and find that balance because it didn't feel like work. It's like when you would do something for free, it's like just the inquiry, the curiosity, the interest in problem solving, it never really felt like work. And so it was easy for me to sort of burn the candle at both ends, if you will. And so
Yeah.
finally I hit burnout and I took a sabbatical. And I just remember the first week of sabbatical being in withdrawal. I mean, I had the shakes. I was like, you know, what do people do? I mean, I had really few friends. I had no hobbies to speak of. I wasn't even enjoying my own company. You know what I mean? And it's just sort of like, it's really humbling to say, you know, who am I and how do I create a life where I am fully flourishing and thriving, not just my work, right? Not just sort of the contributions I'm making in the world.
Yes,
That's sort of resonating.
that's really good. I think that for people like us who are super passionate, who always, you know, pursue excellence, it's really easy to get into patterns and habits of just going, always striving. And it's not that those things in and of themselves are bad, but again, it's all about like balance and moderation. And again, I'm going to go back to the word boundaries, because I feel like I'm somebody who really struggles with putting those boundaries in. And I think you and I have been experiencing during, you know, our entrepreneurial journey right now is we might not be working for somebody else and having these set structures for the work that we do, which is exciting in a lot of ways. But again, we can fall victim to well, now I can continue to work through 2 a.m. because I'm having this idea. And it's just like, again, trying to set parameters around when to do my work and how to do it. And then you made me giggle about the not, there's no reward in heaven for not taking the vacation days. And it's like, when I left the New York City Department of Ed, I will say I did get a very fat check for all of my unused time. So that did contribute to me being able to do some things. But to your point, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So what if, you know, I had been working all those days and not taken time to enjoy myself and the fruits of my labor? And I think that hopefully this global pandemic has helped to shed a light on some of us who maybe need that gentle reminder that, you know, you really have to, it's a balance again of, you know, being forward thinking, but not always living in the future. And so living in the now while thinking about the future. And then, you know, when you talked about being on vacation and like still checking your emails and still kind of not setting that boundary around your vacation time, we actually went to Maine this year. So we don't have like a set spot that we go to every year. We've gone to different places. We've done Jersey Shore, we've done the Outer Banks, we've done the Bahamas, we've done Myrtle Beach. This is all since my son has been born. And this year we would have wanted to do something further away, but we settled on Maine because it was one of the few states we could go to that didn't have like the quarantine parameters. And it was short. It was like 5 days, 4 nights. And it was, you know, the ocean in Maine is a bit colder, but it was actually perfect. And I'm the thing I'm most proud of is I think it's the most like not out of touch, but what am I saying? Like I really didn't do much work at all. Maybe an email here or there or jotting something in my Google Doc because I had a thought, but I really just enjoyed being at the beach. I ran on the beach. I did yoga on the beach. Just doing stuff with the kids and the fam. Like it was enjoying lobster every single day. Like that was so nice. And I came back and I felt it. I felt more refreshed, more rejuvenated, more ready to conquer the work that I'm doing now. So I'm curious for you because I know you haven't gone away. You didn't get to go on your vacation. So are you feeling that you had an opportunity to have that same sense of like decompressing, rejuvenating, or do you feel like you still need to kind of figure that out in the next few weeks to kind of get you back into the fall transition?
So here's the thing, right? So I am busy sort of working on a big launch coming up here. And so I've sort of been heads down, sort of, uh, working hard on that. And I think what I learned during my sabbatical was that I shouldn't have to wait for some, designated time and space
Mhm.
to care for myself, to nurture my well-being, to pour into what ultimately ended up being an empty cup, right? And so the trick for me is figuring out, how do I factor in those moments during every day, during every week, right? So that I'm not waiting for some big, because I already thought, I'm like, oh, I might want to take some time off in December, as I'm getting ready for the new year, because this year has just been a lot. And so I think about that. So I remember going to a friend's destination wedding, and he got married in Panama. It was one of my best friends from college and got married in Panama. And I remember going on this trip. This is the time where I was sort of hoarding my vacation days, right? And I was like, who does this? I mean, who plans a destination wedding? It's so inconvenient. I mean, we had to fly on an international flight. Then we got there, we had to do a domestic flight. Then we got on a bus. Then we got on a small boat. Then we got into a golf cart. It was like 7 modes of transportation. And I was just like, cranky the entire time. Like, how could he inconvenience? Then we get off of the golf cart and we are literally in paradise, right? I'm looking around. We are on this little island. There's the beach, there's the ocean, there's that breeze that you're feeling. And I'm thinking to myself,
I'm
okay,
feeling it now.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, he had the right idea, because I was in that moment transported into paradise, and I forgot all my cares and worries, the harrying journey that it took to get there, and I was able to just sort of settle in, reconnect with old friends I hadn't seen in years, celebrate their love, and so I say that to say, like, how do we create those moments within each day right now? Because I think that in a weird way, this quarantine has created a little bit of serendipity in terms of connections, like, friends who I haven't, been able to chat with for years, new folks who I'm meeting and connecting with and having, virtual coffee chats or what have you. It's just these moments where we're able to sort of savor the special things in life that I think when we were so busy, running through our jam-packed schedules, we didn't really take pause to do that. I think the other piece is sort of I talked about not having hobbies, or, really cultivating a sense of creativity, right? I think it's important every day to have a little bit of playfulness, right? It's so funny. I worked with a coach when I was like transitioning after a layoff and was trying to figure out my next steps. And I remember she was like, your assignment is to play. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, who does that? And I was insulted.
You're like, I don't have time to play. I got bills to pay,
That's
lady.
what I was like insulted, because like growing up, my parents, like, if you were just sitting still, like, it's like, why are you not doing
Don't let them
more?
see you. Listen, do not let an immigrant parent see you laying idle. It's not going to work out well for you.
It's not going to end well at all. It's not going to end well. So it's like, so this idea of playfulness, and I've had this chat with other friends who have similar experiences. It's just kind of like, it's a foreign concept. It's like, why should I play? But I find that, like, for me, especially as an entrepreneur, the creative moments, really, that's where the ideas spur. And if I'm just so focused on my to-do list and sort of checking the tasks off the box, and I don't create those moments for playfulness, then I feel it in my spirit. I feel it.
No, that makes so much sense. So, I mean, I think what we want to sort of emphasize for today is just that if you are feeling right now like you are working for the weekend, you're working for your annual vacation, you are just constantly in this perpetual state of like yearning, you want to think about how you can redesign your life and recreate your life so that you don't want to escape from it, right? And that's not just about being a busy professional. You could be a stay-at-home mom and want to be escaping your life because maybe you are so constantly in caregiver mode for your children that you haven't carved out those spaces to just be you, like a woman, period. Not woman as a wife or woman as a mom or woman as a daughter, like just you. And so that's really key, is that, and not that Anniedi and I have perfected it yet, but I think we've gotten much more intentional about looking at our calendars and creating those pockets of rest, of recreation, of rejuvenation. And that way we can come fresh to our work, we can come fresh to our relationships, right? And so this idea of just, again, having balance, having intention. I don't know if you want to add any extra ditties to that, but that's what I really hope people come away with today.
No, I love that, Christina, because I remember when my mom, we all went to college, so it was empty nest syndrome. And I remember her having this sense of melancholy, you know, it's like, how do I identify myself in the absence of playing those roles that you were just sort of describing, right? And I think that this sort of designing your life concept, right, it gives us permission to sort of think about, you know, not just how do we want to structure our time, but who do we want to be? What is that dream life? When we hear like living your best life, it all sounds sensational, right? But that means different things for different people. And so you have to sort of get clear on what that looks like for you, right? You could be living a life that is someone else's dream, but is your nightmare, right? And so how
yes, oh my gosh. I think of all my friends who, like, God bless them, like all that was in what their perfect dream life was just being able to stay home with their children 24/7. And they love it. Like, that is their jam. I love my son. I love spending time with him. I love that the life that I've created right now, like, allows me to see much more of him than I would have if I was still a principal of a building. But I can tell you, if that's all I did day in and day out, my mental health would suffer for it, and my joy and my satisfaction, because I feel very multifaceted and I feel very passionate about different things, and I need to sort of nurture all those parts of myself. And so, again, to your point, like, there's no right or wrong, right? So that person where motherhood is like the end all be all for them, and their joy comes from that cultivation of their children, like, rock on, mama. And for that woman who's like, I don't have kids, I don't want kids, and like climbing the corporate ladder or building my empire, like, that's the beauty of life, right? Like, we get to decide how we want to, you know, walk our own journeys if we are brave enough to really reflect on what we want to do and then pursue it. Because I think we've talked about it a lot in other episodes, that sometimes we just get on a track because somebody laid out the tracks, and then we wake up one day and we're like, how do I get on this car, and how the heck do I get off?
Well, I was nodding my head when you said, okay, you know, for some people this is their dream. I think a lot of people said, I want to spend more time with my family, right? And then the way it's sort of laying out right now, well, this is not how I envisioned it, right? So it's sort of thinking about, like, we're all being asked to redesign our lives. We're all being asked to sort of reassess how we sort of create and carve out those times to actually connect, right? To reconnect in a way that we are fully present. And so I think that it's pushing a lot of us outside of our comfort zones. It's challenging a lot of what we thought we wanted, and pushing us to really sort of think, you know, how do I create anew? How do I create anew? So we want to hear from you. What are your practices and tips for designing a life that you don't want to escape from? Any surprises that you sort of realized in 2020? Drop a note in the comments and let us know. If you love what you're hearing, please subscribe, share with a friend who could also benefit from some of these stories we're sharing from this virtual road trip. And we look forward to speaking with you again.
Oh, wait, one more.
Sure.
If you, because I want to hold you all accountable, if you can identify a way that you can integrate more rest or more play, depending on what you're lacking, why don't you share that on our Instagram, the Wild Wild West of Adulting, because we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love for you to share that with other people, give them inspiration, or just like we said, just kind of hold yourself accountable to actually creating a life that you don't want to escape from.
Love that. Love that. All right. Thanks, Christina, for another great episode. We will see you all very soon. And take a little time to hashtag manifest your destiny. All right.
Love it.